Different parties, I think, feeling, well, lots of different emotions this afternoon. Someone who's been part of our politics in so many different ways, from the formation of the United Democratic Front in the 1980s, through the ANC, was national chair of the ANC at one point, played a key role in the ANC's, bless me, excuse me, must be the political atmosphere, played a key role in the ANC's Congress in 2007 in Polokwane. You know who I'm talking about already. Do you remember the man who served his divorce papers on the ANC? Mosiuoa Lekota. He's the leader of the Congress of the People. Mr. Lekota, it's good to see you again, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well indeed. How are you?
All right, look, let's talk about your results for a minute so we can get the pain out of the way.
Yeah,
I mean, it hasn't been great.
Yes, no, it's not been good. It's not been good. We didn't have the kind of resources we needed. And I think the way this campaign was run was also a tricky one. It was not run like a local government campaign, because you saw leaders at national level running all over the place. And at some point I wondered whether the president was a premier candidate of some town or municipality. But that's how it went.
Yeah.
Our party was, of course, we were weak on the resources, and we didn't do so well. But I have learned something. I think South Africans are beginning to understand that it's not all about what you are black or white. It's about the conditions of life in which the people live. And that, I think, has begun to tell. And which is why I think so many people, especially in the black communities, simply walked away from the ballots. And they had to go and think what they need to do.
It's interesting you say that, because, I mean, it seems that Herman Mashaba got quite a lot of white support, got quite a lot of white votes. I mean, this is going in lots of different ways.
Yes.
Maybe the beginnings of... So race is still the defining feature of our society, but maybe within our politics it's not going to be as dominant as it has been.
Yeah, it's a crisscross movement. There are very many who were initially believed that it was good to have only white to govern and so on. Sure. But I think there are so many others who are beginning to see that if you look in the black community among the leaders, you will see others who don't judge on the basis of color. But also in the black communities, many people are beginning to ask, how is it that the majority of the people in government are African, therefore African National Congress, but that so much of our public funds are being stolen left, right, and center by these very people that we believed are going to look after us. Yes, it's a South Africa getting out of the cocoons of the old apartheid order. And I think that's very good for our country.
I want to talk a little bit about the history of your party, because, I mean, I started deliberately this conversation with a little bit of your personal history, because I think it's important. I mean, I remember I wasn't around when you were in the UDF. I wasn't around when you were serving jail time. I wasn't around when those things happened to you. I know of them historically. I remember so clearly the 2007 ANC conference in Polokwane. You were the ANC chair there. I was in the room when you served your divorce papers on the ANC. You'll remember that, in 2008. Yes. I remember being at the Sandton Conference Centre when COPE had their first big sort of public meeting.
Yes.
Then the University of the Free State for your first conference.
Yes.
2009, you and I were both here.
Yes.
You got 1 million votes.
Yes.
What's happened since then? It just, it hasn't gone as well as I think maybe you thought it would.
Yes, I think the time was not yet right, because the ANC was still new. It was the little baby that was there, and everybody believed that now that the ANC is there, we're going to see great changes to our interest and all of that. But I tell you, in this election, many people in the black communities, some who used to say to me, my blood is black, green, and gold, came to say to me, how did you know? How did you see that it was going to be like this? So it's a new revelation. It shows that our people has now suddenly discovered that, hey man, what we expected out of these people is not it. Mandela is no longer there. Sisulu is no longer there. All these men and women that we had trusted for so much, they are not being reproduced. We are seeing now money disappearing in billions into the hands and pockets and bank accounts of black people like ourselves. So we must think again. And this election, and the fact that so many people stayed away from the election in the black communities, stayed away, tells you that South Africans are saying that somewhere we missed the point. And I think that is really good for our country, because we are, for the first time, we are beginning to think we must judge people not on the skin of their color. We must judge them not only in their words, by their actions. Is where we got to go get it right.
I mean, there are lots of things that I think are happening in this election. You talk about your observation around race. There's also, for the first time, we're seeing new parties that didn't come from the ANC. So, I mean, the birth of your party was a big story. Yeah. You weren't the only people to splinter from the ANC. I mean, yes. we can go back a long time. You know, there's the IFB, there's the PAC, there is the EFF. In a way, you were sort of the first big one, if I can call it that. Yes. So what we're seeing now is parties that don't come from the ANC. The Patriotic Alliance doesn't come from the ANC. You know, parties like that. What does that tell us? I mean, I think it tells us that people are forming their own parties in their own communities because they now, in a way, our politics is not going to have a national center. It's going to have something else.
Yes, look, let me say quite frankly, it's not only one racial group that is learning from its background. All of them are learning from their own positions. They are learning all these different lessons. And South Africans are beginning to meet each other. They're drinking together in the bars. They are working together. They are facing same problems, whatever their background may be. And so now they are having to make judgment, not in the conditions of the past, but in these new conditions which are there. Do I vote for this one because he's black like me? Do I vote for that one because he's white like me? It's no longer that. It's the question, who and how do I ascertain that this one who gets my vote will do that which is good for me and the community? That is the challenge. And that kind of challenge is faced by many societies around the world. And we are moving out of the cocoons of the past.
Mosiuoa Lekota, are we going to see you back in the next elections in 2024?
You will see me for a very long time on the political stage of South Africa. Yeah. I am myself learning quite a lot, even as I'm going on now.
Mosiuoa Lekota, thank you very much indeed. The leader of Congress of the People.